foghorn. Isn't it awful, Kathleen?
It is indeed, ma'am. It's like a banshee.
I don't mind it tonight. Last night it drove me crazy. I lay awake worrying until I couldn't stand it anymore.
Bad cess to it. I was scared out of my wits driving back from town. I thought that ugly monkey Smythe would drive us into a ditch or against a tree. You couldn't see your hand in front of you. I was glad you had me sitting back with you, ma'am. If I had to sit in front with that monkey, he can't keep his dirty hands to himself. Give him half the chance and he's pinching me on the leg or you know where. Begging your pardon, ma'am, but it's true.
It isn't the fog I mind, Kathleen. I really love fog.
They say it's good
it
for the complexion.
Hides you from the world and the world from you. No one can find or touch you anymore.
Oh, I wouldn't care if Smythe was a fine, handsome man. Like some chauffeurs I've seen. I've told him. He must think I'm hard up to notice a monkey like you. I've warned him. I'll give a clout that I'll knock into next week. So I will.
It's the foghorn I hate. He won't let you alone. He keeps reminding you, warning you, calling you back. But he can't tonight. It's just an ugly sound. It doesn't remind me of anything. Except perhaps Mr. Tyrone's snores. I've always had such fun teasing him about it. He has snored ever since I can remember, especially when he's had too much to drink. And yet he's like a child. He hates to admit it. Well, I suppose I snore from time to time. And I don't like to admit it, so I've no right making fun of him, have I?
Oh, sure, everybody healthy snores. It's a sign of sanity, they say. What time is it, ma'am? I ought to be back in the kitchen.
No, don't go, Kathleen. I don't want to be alone yet.
You won't be for long. The master and the boys will be home soon.
Oh, I doubt if they'll come back for dinner. They have too good an excuse to remain in the bar rooms when they feel at home. Don't worry about Bridget. I'll tell her I kept you with me. You can take her a big drink of whiskey when you go. She won't mind then.
No, ma'am. That's the one thing that'll make her cheerful. She loves her drop.
Have another drink yourself, if you wish, Kathleen.
Oh, I don't think I'd better. I can feel the one I've had already. Well, maybe another one won't harm. Here's your health, ma'am.
I really did have good health once, Kathleen, but that was long ago.
The master's sure to notice what's gone from the bottle. Here's the eye of a hawk for that.
Oh, we'll play Jamie's trick on him. Just measure out a few drinks of water and pour them in.
God save me, it'll be half water.
By the time he comes home, he'll be too drunk to know the difference. He has such a good excuse, he believes, to drown his sorrows.
Oh, you mean Mr. Edmund, ma'am? I can tell the master's worried about him.
Oh, don't be silly, Kathleen. Why should he be? A touch of grip is nothing. And Mr. Tyrone never is worried about anything. Except money and property and the fear he'll end his days in poverty. I mean, deeply worried. Because he cannot really understand anything else. My husband is a very peculiar man, Kathleen.
Well, he's a fine, handsome, kind gentleman, just the same, ma'am. Never mind his weakness.
Oh, I don't mind. I've loved him dearly for 36 years. That proves I know he's lovable at heart and can't help being what he is, doesn't it?
That's right, ma'am. Love him dearly. For any fool can see he worships the ground you walk on.
How thick the fog is. I can't see the road. all the people in the world could pass by, I would never know. I wish it was always that way. It's getting dark. Will soon be night, thank goodness. It was kind of you to keep me company this afternoon, Kathleen. I would have been lonesome driving uptown alone.
Sure, wouldn't I rather ride in a fine automobile than stay here and listen to Bridget's lies about her relations? It was like a vacation, Mom. There's one thing I didn't like.
Oh, what was that, Kathleen?
The way the man in the drugstore acted when I took in the prescription for you. Impudence of him.
What are you talking about? Oh, of course. I'd forgotten the medicine for my rheumatism. What did the man say? Not that it matters.
Well, it mattered to me then. I'm not used to being treated like a thief. He gives me a long look and says insultingly, "Where did you get hold of this then?" And I says, "It's none of your damn business, but if you must know, it's for the lady I work for, Mrs. Tyrone, who's sitting out there in that automobile." That shut him up quick. He gives a look out at you and says, "Oh," and then goes to get the medicine.
Yes. He knows me. I have to take it because there is no other that can stop the pain. All the pain. I mean, in my hands. Poor hands. You'd never believe it, but they were once one of my good points, along with my hair and eyes. They were musicians' hands. I used to love the piano. I worked so hard at my music in the convent. Mother Elizabeth and my music teacher both said I had more talent than any student they remembered. My father paid for special lessons. He spoiled me. He would do anything I asked. He would have sent me to Europe to study after I graduated from the convent. I might have gone if I hadn't fallen in love with Mr. Tyrone. Or I might have become a nun. I had two dreams. To be a nun, that was the more beautiful one. Be a concert pianist, that was the other. I haven't touched a piano in so many years. I couldn't play now with such crippled fingers, even if I wanted to. See, Kathleen, how ugly they are. So maimed and crippled. You think they've been through some horrible accident. So they have, come to think of it. I won't look at them. They're worse than the foghorn for reminding me. But even they can't touch me now. They're far away. I see them. But the pain is gone.
You've taken some of the medicine. It made you act funny, Ma'am. If I didn't know better, I think you'd have dropped taken.
It kills the pain. You go back until at last you are beyond its reach. Only the past, when you were happy, is real. If you think Mr. Tyrone is handsome now, Kathleen, you should have seen him when I first met him. He had the reputation of being one of the best-looking men in the country. The girls in the convent who had seen him act or seen his photographs used to rave about him. He was a great matinee idol then, you know. Women used to wait at the stage door just to see him come out. You can imagine how excited I was when my father told me that he and James Tyrone had become friends and that I was to meet him when I came home for Easter vacation. I showed the letter to all the girls and how envious they were. My father took me to see him act first. It was a play about the French Revolution, and the leading part was a nobleman. I couldn't take my eyes off him. I wept when he was thrown in prison. And then I was mad at myself because I was afraid my eyes and nose would be red. My father had said we'd go backstage to his dressing room right after the play, and so we did. I was so bashful. All I could do was stammer and blush like a little fool. But he didn't seem to think I was a fool. I know he liked me. From the first moment we were introduced. I guess my eyes and nose couldn't have been red after all. I was really very pretty then, Kathleen. And he was handsomer than my wildest dream. And his makeup and his nobleman's costume that was so becoming to him. He was different from all ordinary men. It's like someone from another world. Then at the same time, he was simple and kind and unassuming, not a bit stuck up or vain. I fell in love right then. So did he told me afterward. I forgot all about becoming a nun. Or a concert pianist. All I wanted was to be his wife. "36 years ago. But I can see it as clearly as if it were tonight. We've loved each other ever since. And in all those 36 years, there has never been a breath of scandal about him. I mean, with any other woman. Never. Since he met me. That has made me so very happy, Kathleen. It has made me forgive so many other things.
Well, he's a fine gentleman and you're a lucky woman. Can I take the drink to Bridget now, ma'am? It must be near dinner time and I ought to be in the kitchen helping her.
Yes. Oh, I don't need you now.
You won't be alone for long. The master and the boys will be home soon.
No, they won't come. Tell Bridget we won't wait. You can serve dinner promptly at 6:30. I'm not hungry, but I'll sit at the table. We'll get it over with.
You ought to eat something, ma'am. It's a queer medicine if it takes away your appetite.
What medicine? I don't know what you mean. You'd better take the drink to Bridget.
Yes, ma'am.
Sentimental fool. What is so wonderful about that first meeting between a silly romantic schoolgirl and a matinee idol? You were much happier before you knew he existed. In the convent. When you used to pray to the Blessed Virgin. If I could only find the faith I lost so I could pray again. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. You expect the Blessed Virgin to be fooled by a lying dope fiend reciting words you can't hide from her. Oh, I must go upstairs. I'm taking enough. When you start again, you never know exactly how much you need. Oh, why are they coming back? I don't want to, and I'd much rather be alone. Oh, I'm so glad they've come. I've been so horribly lonely.
Are you there, Mary?
I'm here, dear. In the living room. I've been waiting for you. Oh, I'm so happy you've come. I'd given up hope. I was afraid you wouldn't come home. It's such a dismal, foggy evening. I'm sure it's much more cheerful in the bar rooms uptown where there are people you can talk and joke with. All the more grateful to you for coming home. Come and sit down. Dinner won't be ready for a minute yet. You're actually a little early. Well, wonders never cease. Here's the whiskey, dear. Shall I pour a drink for you? And you, Edmund? I don't want to encourage you, but one before dinner as an appetizer can't do any harm. Where's Jamie? Oh, of course. He'll never come home so long as he has the price of a drink left. But we mustn't allow him to drag Edmund down with him as he's like to do. He's jealous because Edmund has always been the baby, just as he used to be of Eugene.
Stop talking, Mom.
Yes, Mary. The less you say now. All the same, there's truth in your mother's warning. Beware of that brother of yours, or he'll poison life for you with his damned, sneering, serpent's
Cut it
tongue.
up, Papa.
It's hard to believe, seeing Jamie as he is now, that he was ever my baby. Do you remember what a happy, healthy baby he was, James? Eugene was the same, too, healthy and happy during the 2 years he lived before I let him die through my neglect.
Oh, for the love of God. I was a fool for coming home.
Papa, shut up.
Who would have thought Jamie would grow up to disgrace us? It's such a pity. Poor Jamie. It's hard to understand. No, it isn't at all. Since he first opened his eyes, he's seen you drinking. And if he had a nightmare when he was little or a stomachache, your remedy was to give him a teaspoonful of whiskey to quiet it.
So I'm to blame because that lazy hulk has made a drunken loafer of himself. Is that what I came home to listen to? I might have known it. When you got the poison in you, you want to blame everyone but yourself.
Papa, you told me not to pay attention. Anyway, it's true. Did the same thing with me. I remember that teaspoonful of booze every time I woke up with a nightmare.
Oh, please don't think I blame your father. He didn't know any better. He never went to school after he was 10. His people were the most ignorant kind of poverty-stricken Irish. I'm sure they honestly believed whiskey is the healthiest medicine for a child who is sick or frightened.
Mary?
Papa, are we going to have this drink or aren't we?
Yeah. I'm a fool to take notice. Drink hearty, lad.
I'm sorry if I sounded bitter, James. I'm not. But I did feel a little hurt when you wished you hadn't come home. I was so relieved and happy when you came and grateful to you.
I'm glad I came home, Mary, when you act like your real self.
I was so lonesome, I kept Kathleen with me, just to have someone to talk to. Do you know what I was telling her, dear? About the night my father took me to your dressing room when I first fell in love with you. Do you remember?
Can you think I'd ever forget, Mary?
No. I know you still love me, James, in spite of everything.
Yes, Mary. As God is my judge, always and forever.
And I love you, dear. In spite of everything. Well, I must confess, James, although I couldn't help loving you, I never would have married you if I'd known you drank so much. I remember the first night. Your barroom friends had to help you up to the door of our hotel room and knocked and then ran away before I came to the door. We were still on our honeymoon, do you remember?
No, I don't remember. And it was not on our honeymoon. And I've never in my life had to be helped to bed or missed a performance.
I'd waited in that ugly hotel room hour after hour. I kept making excuses for you. I told myself it must be some business connected with the theater. I knew so little about the theater. Then I became terrified. I imagined all sorts of horrible accidents. I got down on my knees and prayed that nothing had happened to you. And then they brought you up and left you outside the door. I didn't know how often that was to happen in the years to come, how many times I was to wait. In ugly hotel rooms, I became quite used to it.
Christ, no wonder. When is dinner, Mama? It must be time.
Yeah, it must be. Mary, Can't you forget?
No, dear. But I forgive. I always forgive you. So don't look so guilty. I'm sorry I remembered out loud. I don't want to be sad or to make you sad. I want to remember only the happy part of the past. Do you remember our wedding, dear? I'm sure you've completely forgotten what my wedding gown looked like. My father told me to buy anything I wanted. Never mind what it cost. The best is none too good, he said. He spoiled me dreadfully. My mother didn't. She was very pious and strict. She'd scold my father. She'd grumble, "You spoil that girl so. I pity her husband if she ever marries." Poor mother. But she was mistaken, wasn't she, Jane? I haven't been such a bad wife, have I?
I'm not complaining, Mary.
At least I've loved you dearly and done the best I could under the circumstance. Oh, I loved that gown. It was made of soft, shimmering satin, trimmed with wonderful old Duchesse lace and tiny ruffles round the neck and sleeves. Rigged in with the folds, they were draped in a bustle effect in the back. My father even let me have Duchesse lace on my white satin slippers and lace with the orange blossoms in my veil. Oh, it was so beautiful. Where is it now, I wonder? I kept it wrapped in tissue paper in my trunk. I used to take it out from time to time when I was lonely, but it always made me cry, and so finally, a long while ago, I wonder where I hid it. Someday I'll have to look.
Isn't it dinner time, dear? You're forever scolding me for being late, and now that I'm on time for once, it's dinner that's late. Well, if I can't eat yet, I can drink. I'd forgotten I had this. Who's been tampering with my whiskey? The damn stuff is half water. Jamie's been away, and anyway, he wouldn't overdo his trick like this. Any fool can tell. Mary, answer me. Well, I hope to God you haven't taken to drink on
Shut
top
up,
of it.
Pop. You treated Kathleen and Bridget, isn't that it, Mama?
Yes, of course. They work hard for poor wages. And I'm the housekeeper. I have to keep them from leaving. Besides, I wanted to treat Kathleen because I had her go uptown with me and sent her to get my prescription filled.
For God's sake, Mama, you can't trust her. Do you want everyone on Earth to know?
Know what? That I suffer from rheumatism in my hands and have to take medicine to kill the pain? Why should I be ashamed of that? I never knew what rheumatism was before you were born. Ask your father.
Don't mind her, Dad. It doesn't mean anything. When she gets to the stage when she drags in the old crazy excuse about her hand, she's gone far away from us.
Oh, I'm glad you realize that, James. Now, perhaps you'll give up trying to remind me, you and Edmund. Why don't you light the light, James? It's getting dark. I know you hate to, but Edmund has proved to you one bulb burning doesn't cost much.
I never said one bulb costs much. It's having them on. One here, one there, that makes the electric company rich. But I'm a goddamn fool to talk reason to you. I'll get a fresh bottle of whiskey, lad, and we'll have a real drink.
He'll sneak around to the outside cellar door so the servants don't see him. He's really ashamed of keeping his whiskey padlocked in the cellar. Your father's a strange man, Edmund. It took many years before I understood him. You must try to understand and forgive him, too, not feel contempt, because he's close-fisted. Your father had to go to work in a machine shop when he was only 10 years old.
For Pete's sake, Mama, I've heard Papa tell that machine shop story 10,000 times.
Yes, dear, you've had to listen, but I don't think you've ever tried to understand.
Listen, Mama. You're not so far gone yet, you've forgotten everything. You haven't asked me what I found out this afternoon. Don't you care a damn?
Oh, please, dear, you
But what I've got is serious, Mama. Doc Hardy knows for sure now.
Lying old quack.
He brought in a specialist to examine me so that he would be absolutely sure.
Told you what the doctor at the sanatorium, who really knows something, said about the way he treated me. He said he ought to be locked up. He said it was a wonder I hadn't gone mad. I told him I had once. The time I ran down in my nightdress to throw myself off the dock. You remember that, don't you?
Yes, I remember that. It's right after that Pop and Jamie decided they couldn't hide it from me anymore. Jamie told me. I called him a liar. But I knew he wasn't lying. God, it made everything in life seem wrong.
Oh, don't, my baby. You hurt me so dreadful.
It was you who brought it up. Listen, Mama. I'm going to tell you this whether you want to hear it or not. I've got to go to a sanatorium.
Go away? No. No, how dare Dr. Hardy advise such a thing without consulting me? How dare your father allow him? What right has he? You're my baby. Let him attend to Jamie. I know why he wants you sent to a sanatorium, to take you from me. He's been jealous of every one of my babies. He's jealous of you most.
Stop talking crazy, Mama. Stop trying to blame him. All this talk about loving me, you won't even listen when I try to tell you how sick I am.
That's enough. I don't care to hear it because I know it's just more of Hardy's ignorant lies. You're so like your father, dear. You love to make a scene out of nothing, so you can be dramatic and tragic. They gave you the slightest encouragement. You tell me next we're gonna die.
People do die of it, Mother. Your own father died of it.
No comparison at all with you. He had consumption. I forbid you to remind me of my father's death. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, Mama. I wish to God I didn't. It gets pretty hard to take at times, having a dope fiend for a mother. Forgive me, Mama. I was angry. You hurt me.
Just listen to that awful foghorn and the bells. Why is it fog makes everything sound so sad and lost, I wonder?
I can't stay here any longer. I don't want any dinner.
I must go upstairs. I'm taking enough. I hope some time, without meaning to, I will take an overdose. I never could do it deliberately. The Blessed Virgin would never forgive me that.
The padlock is all scratched. That drunken loafer has tried to pick the lock with a piece of wire the way he's done before. And I fooled him this time. It's a special padlock a professional burglar couldn't pick. Where's Edmund?
He went out. Perhaps he's going uptown again to find Jamie. He said he didn't want any dinner. Doesn't seem to have any appetite these days. But it's just a summer cold. Oh, James, I'm so frightened. I know he's going to die.
Don't say that. It's not true. They promised me in 6 months he'd be cured.
You don't believe that. I can tell when you're acting. And it will be my fault. I should never have borne him. I could never have hurt him then. He wouldn't have had to know his mother was a dope fiend. I hate her.
Oh, for the love of God, Mary. He loves you. He knows it was a curse put on you without you willing it or knowing it. Here comes Kathleen. Now, you don't want her to see you cry.
Dinner is served, sir. Dinner is served, ma'am.
Come along, dear. Now, let's have our dinner, huh? I'm as hungry as a hunter.
I'm afraid you'll have to excuse me, James. I couldn't possibly eat anything. My hands pain me dreadfully. I think the best thing for me is to go to bed and rest. Good night, dear.
I have to take more of that goddamn poison as that is. You'll be like a mad ghost before the night's over.
I don't know what you're talking about. You say such mean, bitter things when you've drunk too much. You're as bad as Jamie. Or Edmund.